Yeah, we are live. We are live. We're going to be chatting Canadian wine and blind tasting some Canadian wine, but we're also chatting about what, Carl?
We'll chat a little bit about the first Washington State fruits who came to the Okanagan from the 2024 vintage. And I'm going to get blind taste one more time. So looking forward
Two
to it.
reds to blind taste, Carl. Let's see if there's any of that Nemesis Merlot in there. I don't know. But yeah, basically BC wine, but with US fruit. And the answer of why that's been done might surprise you. So stay tuned.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members. It's Wednesday. It's 5 o'clock Pacific. It's time for a glass of Canadian wines. It's time to chat what we love the most. It's about our beautiful Canadian wines across the country. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Mira.
Welcome, Carl Boucher. And I like this topic because it has suddenly become much more controversial than anyone would have guessed a couple of years ago when these BC wines made with US grapes were originally made. So, who has been under a blanket of snow and like freezing temperatures? Please tell me if that's been you, because it feels like the last 2 weeks at the Boucher house were very sad because there was no wine arriving at the door because we told all the wineries, hold the wines for Carl's Wine Club members, hold the wines for us to taste because it was cold, eh, Carl?
Oh, I mean, there's no way to go about it. I mean, there's a wall in our beautiful province of Manitoba that where, I mean, when it starts the minus 25 and above, I mean, it's hard to get out of it. And it extended all the way to Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatoon, and Winnipeg, and Calgary, all
That's
across
nice.
Alberta. And I mean, like that usual wall of Manitoba became a massive front, a deep freeze front where you couldn't freaking cross. And there you go. So, I mean, there's been a few wineries who I give the okay to go about it because now it's time to ship. It's time to ship. And the weather is warming up across the country. So, yeah.
Yeah, just as of tomorrow, I think. So I think the last 2 weeks, like poor people.
As of tomorrow, Alberta, Manitoba, as of Friday, but warming up like from minus 28 to minus 10 tomorrow, and just all around the 0 degrees everywhere. Calgary, I think, is going to be a shift of like 30 something degrees in 24 hours. You're minus 28 right now, and tomorrow should be like just around the 0 degrees. So, yeah.
So, one more thing I have to say because it's ridiculous about the weather, and then you can leave the weather. But I was looking at poor Saskatchewan. The last 2 weeks, like most of their days have been like minus 40 plus wind chill at night.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty.
Anyway, it's gonna warm up. Oh, Jim's in Europe. Oh, sorry.
Cannot, like, it's very unforgiving for the wines. There was one batch who left, one of our winery partners that should have left by mistake.
5 shipments, maybe 4 or 5.
5 or 6 people in BC that got wine that was not supposed to be sent. But I mean, it happens sometimes. And there's going to be new package sent next week to replace the whole slushy and broken balls and popping corks and the whole shebang. So sorry for the whole thing. It was a pretty hard 3 weeks to navigate. Well, I mean, hard. You just put everything on hold and
Sometimes you get that
hope for
kind
the
of crazy.
best. So, I mean, the people who ordered their discovery pack, now I need to receive the wines from Ontario who are all going to be shipped. So we're working on it. We're working on it. The rare wine of BC are going to be shipped out because everything is here.
Yeah. So
And
with
moving.
temperatures like -40 overnight, even if there's temperature controlled couriers, they can't keep up to that. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Oh, Tracy cleaned the wine cellar. Wow, that's really awesome. Yeah, define cleaned. That's a good point. Have you been sampling a lot of wines, Tracy?
I mean, that can be understand cleaning up the wine cellar. I mean, there's different ways to go about it. There's
Yeah, once in my
different
life,
terminology in many things, right? So
so I
so
once in
yeah.
my life decided to go about dusting our bottles. And I decided at that point, when I was halfway through it, I was like, this is the first and last time I'm ever doing this. There's a reason why cellars have like, you know, very dusty spiderweb bottles. And it's because it's a pain in the butt to clean those things. Hey, Rick, nice to see you. So, okay, so this Carl Boucher here just went out, Monsieur Carl Boucher, and brought me back a little something. And guess what it is? A nice round of Comox Vancouver Island cheese.
They've been they ran out at our grocery store for a long time, and guess what? There was one sitting there, so I thought it was a sign. So I just picked it up after picking up the chicken. But yeah, Comox cheese. I mean, it's been a staple in our house for a long time. She loves her gooey cheese, so I thought it was yeah. Also,
You see how gooey it is? It's like really, just reminds me of the really stinky gooey cheese from France, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's the cheese arrival here. Just to keep everyone posted, that's Niagara College Teaching Winery. All the package are going to be sent out next week. Everything's still on hold. Mouchadre, people who haven't received their Mouchadre will be had and shouldn't have will be shipped again next week. So there's that. So hopefully we catch up on that. And yeah, that's it now for freezing conversation, because I freezed my butt all weekend in beautiful Clearwater, BC, in the interior, in a hockey tournament with a bunch of 11 years old, which they won Browns and only one lost in 5 games. I mean, they played their ass off out there. It was awesome. But that's not the point. The point is I had my first ball, and like every time I take one of our kids in the hockey tournament, I'm always instructed to bring some wine with me so other parents can discover what we do for a living. Very convenient.
And you're expected to bring some freaking glasses because they don't have those at hotels.
So now it's part of the package, right? A box of wines and a box of glass of our nice Riedel tasting glasses. So here we go. Drove all the way for a nice 4 hours to Clearwater, BC with my son, and gathered with a bunch of dads on the Friday night and tasted them on a bunch of stuff from around the country. And one of the dad is the general manager at beautiful Hester Creek here in British Columbia. And he said, Carl, this is freaking fantastic that you brought glasses, because I did not bring glassware with me. I'm like, ha ha ha. Okay, my wife thought about it, not me. But the point is, I had my very first sip of Washington State fruit made in British Columbia. So, if for people who are wondering, what am I talking about here? If you are either new to the show, either just tuning in and not sure, what I'm talking about is back into early 2024, January 2024. So a year and a month ago, British Columbia, the Okanagan Valley, and the Similkameen Valley experienced one of the most disastrous deep freeze in the history of our valley. The result was barely no grape grew here in the Okanagan. And wineries like Hester Creek, which they produce 80,000 cases a year, they need grape to make wines. Guess what? Right? So, legislation, governments, and the QA board, and all actors of the industry came up with new regulation for a year or so. And most of our wineries decided to connect with growers in Washington State, which is our neighbor in the south, right? The extension of the Sonora Desert. The extension of Washington State growing region is the Okanagan. So it makes a lot of sense, really close. We try to connect people from BC and Ontario.
We did a tasting. Wonderful gentleman in Niagara. That's his business. He helps wineries connect with each other about bulk wine. He went around and got 54 tank and barrel samples of bulk wine from Ontario, sent them to us in these lovely unmarked bottles. And we at the BC Wine Institute, what's it called? Anyway, at Okanagan College, they have like a BC Wine Center. Yeah. And we went there, and dozens of wine, like what we had, like 100 people stop by from wineries.
Yeah. Like the bulk of the
Ontario wines. And everyone was so excited. And I do think actually a few wineries ended up using Ontario grapes. And we're going to hear some of those stories really soon, which will be cool. But most BC wineries went to the US. They went to Washington State. They went to California. They went to Oregon.
Very few to California. I haven't heard but in too many stories, or none of the stories from California fruit was 95%. I would say Washington State. A few of them went to Oregon for a few reasons, stylistically, and the main reason was proximity. Right. So
the idea was like, wine needs to be fresh. Like, you don't want to pick your grapes and then press them tomorrow. You want to do it like as close to when you pick it as possible, right, Carl?
Yeah, well, I mean, tomorrow works, but I mean, that's the
big thing, especially with premium wine. That's like important, right?
It is super important. And the key was like we're talking more about 5 days from Ontario to here, was making something that you can't, like, it's not something that was really doable in terms of.
The big thing we heard about Ontario wine was that wineries were like, well, the Ontario wine is great. The prices are great. We want to bring bulk Ontario wine and do something, but then we'd have to lay off half our team, because they would have nothing to do during harvest and nothing to do while they're making the wine. We're just going to have bulk wine. We'll blend it and that's it. But we have to lay off half our team because of that, right?
Yeah,
so that was bringing the grapes from Washington State for a lot of wineries was, well, we can get grapes. We can go down there ourselves at 3 a.m. one day, pick, and then bring them up by the evening.
And most of the thing also was.
Oh, you're gone. Your voice is gone. Can't hear you. Nope. Can anyone else hear Carl? I can't hear you. No, yeah, we're not hearing you, Carl. Do you want to come downstairs? I don't know why. That's weird. And now you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. Well, that's the weirdest thing. I haven't touched
Yeah,
anything.
well, yeah, anyway, that was the idea. So, I mean, no one foresaw that there would then be this big, like, trade dispute with the United States, and that you'd have like a million people in a group. Daryl said, "You never sounded better."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should
No,
have
I'm
thought of
used
that
to. I'm
one.
used to that one, Daryl. No worries, no
Oh,
worries.
no.
I've heard that one before.
Well, not from me. I've
Oh
never been
no, I'm not
that
saying that. I'm not saying that.
mean. But yeah, so that was the thing, is that 2024 BC vintage, or yeah, 2024 BC vintage. I mean, one winery was joking that they would release bottled water and call it the 2024 vintage, because there was like 5% of the grapes that survived that.
Yeah, you're probably right with the 5%. I think you're around bang on that percentage. We found out last week that while doing one of our interview with one of our Naramata Bench winery people for the TV show that we're doing, that on the bench there's a few people who had couple barrels of BC Naramata Bench wine that they're going to put on the market this summer. Like Tightrope has like 50 cases of a estate Riesling. But there's so few of that. I think Painted Rock on this Caja Bench will have maybe 75 cases of rosé, but no red. So like there's such a small quantity coming out of that. So the whole thing, I think we've been talking about that at large, is most of the winery went and buy grapes and buy juice, or buy juice in Washington State, which, by the way, had a big surplus of grape last year. So that means really good pricing. And I have my first sip of Washington State's fruits in bottles, who was made at Esther Creek. So that 2024
At the
Sauvignon
hockey
Blanc.
tournament, no less. At the hockey. How
Here
Canadian
it's
is that?
Columbia Valley Collection. Nice packaging. Nice map of the Columbia Valley in Washington State, so people
Yeah,
can see.
so to give you guys an idea, right? Like if you haven't visited this area, I mean, you see at the bottom there where it says Osoyoos, South Okanagan, Osoyoos. The border literally comes within a couple-minute drive of Osoyoos. And there are Canadian wineries that are half in Canada and half in the US, technically. Right? And so if you keep driving there, I mean, there's like maybe like what, a 10-hour drive you could keep doing if you just kept going south, and all those 10 hours would involve vineyards. Right?
That's 10 hours, but yeah, I mean, a decent amount of time, let's say 5 to 6 hours. But yeah, let's put it that way. Chateau Saint Michel themselves, only one producer in Washington State grow more grape than the entire Okanagan Valley. One producer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a complete different scale. It's a complete different sense of size. I mean, it's completely different. Like, we're not talking about them in the same world. Mike, I agree with you, Mike, the average wine enthusiast. I mean, that was my first comments to Rogers. So Roger Gillespie, general manager at Esther Creek, spent the weekend with him, and my first thing, he showed me the bottle. He told me a little bit about where exactly in Washington State the fruits were coming from, and he said, "Look at it." So I was like, "Wow, this is such a good idea," because one of the greatest conversation right now, it's about the truth in labeling, making sure that Canadian who buys wine from the 2024 vintage know exactly where the fruits are coming from. We know that most of the whites coming from British Columbia, coming from the Okanagan Valley, most of it are going to come from Washington State. how it's going to be labeled, right? Some wineries have started a second label. Like I know that Quailsgate did that. I know that I think is it Poplar Grove. Not sure about Poplar Grove. I know that
Yeah,
some
and
of
I
the
think
wine.
actually interestingly, like Quailsgate did like their US grape wine is a separate label, and you can only get it at the Save On Foods, I think.
Yeah, these were the contract with Save On, and yeah.
So
But
some
yeah,
wineries
so when I saw the
don't
map, I'm like, okay, wow, this is pretty cool. What I like, it's the Columbia Valley collection right down here. I think it's yeah.
We won't get into the whole thing.
No, please
But
don't.
I mean, this is what's crazy, you guys. We have to get the word out to wine lovers that the BC wineries, like this is something that happened like what, almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. So this is a separate issue, and we got to support the wineries that went and did this, because that was the only way they could keep their crews and the only way they could keep
The lights on. The lights
producing.
on.
Yeah.
Basically, like that's the only way to keep the lights on. Some of them, if they couldn't have done that, they would have had to shut their door. Basically, for some, the
Yeah.
decision was made by the bank. So yeah.
So it's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one, because we got a million people in this Facebook group that exploded the last couple of weeks about support Canadian. And I mean, that's what we've been all about at Carl's Wine Club for 5 years now.
Didn't need an election. We didn't need a red state, a blue state. We didn't need a tariff war. We didn't need any of that. Even in the greatest time of Justin Trudeau and the peace and our great government, we were featuring Canadian wines. We were tasting exclusively Canadian wines. So no, just joke aside, politics aside, I mean, it was a necessity for many of our small BC producers. And did we hope at some point during the process that Ontario and BC will have connected better and made bigger, made more project together? Yeah, that was the dream, right?
But here, getting back to another controversial topic, the interprovincial trade barriers between BC and Ontario made the whole thing worse and harder and more expensive than going to the States. Or
there you go.
going to, I mean, there are some wineries, not the wineries we do deal with in Carl's Wine Club, but I know there are some wineries that are selling BC wine made with like Chilean grapes, you know, because they're massive and that's what they decided to do. And I don't have as much sympathy for that, quite frankly, but there you go. And some of those wineries were doing that before all this happened as well. So that's hard. But yeah, there you have it. A bit of controversy for you today, but that's not why you came here. You came here because we're eating.
No, I don't want it to say that. Like, I like the wine. I like the wine.
And that's the thing. What did you think? Because I tasted some too. We had a chef.
I like the wine. I thought it was crisp. It was super tropical fruit, ton of passion fruit in there, guava, melon. I mean, this is not Lincoln Lake Shore Sauvignon Blanc. It's complete. It's very different. It's warmer climate, but you know, well managed. Alcohol level at 12.7. Mark Hopley have done a great job. I mean, it's a $19.95. It's a $20 Sauvignon Blanc, which is, to me, it's right on the verge of a 90 points. It was delicious. I mean,
it tasted great. It's different than what we normally have because it's warmer down there. It's much more desert in Washington State, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly similar than what we have in the south in Osoyoos, and like fairly similar, sandy, and well, depending on where they got it, I mean, completely different than what they have in Ontario. it's just produced in much bigger scale, right? And the fruit is clean, the fruit is good, the price is right, the labeling, again, the labeling is right.
Yeah,
So I
they
buy,
say
if I
exactly where
go
it's
buy
from.
that and I pay attention on the bottle, it tells me where the fruits are from, and that's what I'm asking for. And there is this right there. So kudos to Hester Creek. Kudos to Mark Hopley. Kudos to Roger Gillespie, the whole team at Hester Creek. Well done. I can't wait to taste the other wines. I know there's a rosé. I know there is I think they have four SKUs total that they're going to do. But fantastic. No, fantastic. A great wine for 1995. If we want to keep that all Canadian in a sense, well, you know what? We'll see you at the Pan Canadian Wine Masterclass. If you're looking for, we're going to talk exclusively Canadian wines, and it's going to be exclusively Canadian producer from all over the country. And yeah, I mean, I liked it. I appreciate that bottle. And yeah, like Mike LaPlante says, I like the map in the back. So yeah, kudos to the team at Astor Creek. Well done. Well done.
Very big kudos. Very awesome to see how well they pulled that off with the truth in labeling, and a great wine, like you said, for a great price. And then it kept their whole crew working year round.
Yeah, because like Astor Creek Wineries, there's not a small crew to keep employed. I mean, we're talking. Yeah. So anyway, that was my
it's good to know that the quality is there and that it's enjoyable. It's a different style of wine. Definitely for me, like it reminded me of a warmer vintage of Sauv Blanc in the Okanagan. Like if you were to get a Sauv Blanc from, a Soyuz area where it's pretty much like side by side the US border, right? But also that tells me like how interesting it is, because if you get a wine, like you get a Sauv Blanc from Kelowna, it's so different taste profile than a wine from Osoyoos, which is so close to Washington State, right? So
yeah, and again, like the Okanagan is so unique in how they are set up that I mean, I don't like the Sauvignon Blanc inventory up there is almost non-existent. You need much. Really? Oh yeah. You need more heat unit to be able to pull that off. So the fairly non-existent up there. It's more from, to be honest with you, even here in the central Okanagan are fairly rare. A bit on the Naramata Bench, and that's where it starts all the way down south. So Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, I want to share three club news. I can't find my nail polish remover. I'm so sorry. This is awful. I've been trying to get this off. 3 pieces of club news before you blind taste these wines for us, okay? Do you want to give me a sneak preview? Like, what do you think of them on smelling them?
Yeah. Fairly confused. To be honest, I haven't tasted.
I put one in there to trick you, like, well, they're both good tricks.
Well, at first I thought one was an hybrid.
Oh, really?
So the one with not as much color, the lighter one.
The lighter one, really? Okay, so you have a glass. I mean, it should be the one on the left and the right, unless you mix them up. So you have a glass with yellow marker on the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Yellow marker. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. So which one are you saying you thought might have been a hybrid?
No, that's the other one. The right one.
The one without the yellow on it?
Yeah.
That's potentially a hybrid? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one definitely is a trickster wine.
That's right? Oh, that's a trickster. Yeah, no, my first nose of that one, I was like, hey, is there an hybrid in there? That was my first, but I haven't tasted any, so yeah. I'll have to.
Okay, we'll get you tasting. But the 3 club news. Okay, so the first thing is this week we will have coming your way a survey and a referral like a referral request, okay? Because this is our 5th year as Carl's Wine Club. Like we literally started July 1st of 2020, Canada Day of 2020. And so around the time of the Pan-Canadian Masterclass this June is around the time that Carl and I were sitting next to a lake somewhere in BC. And we were like, let's do this thing where we feature Canadian wine and tell people about it and taste it together. And let's call it Carl's Wine Club, because we had other names, didn't we, Carl?
Yeah, we had other names, and you said, no, I need a name behind that club. We need a personality. We need someone that people can picture. I was like, no, it sounds weird when I said that. It's my name. And finally, I lost the battle, and we called it Carl's Wine Club. So
there you go. Because I was like, well, it is you that's going to be tasting all the wine. And it's you that I knew nothing about wine when we started this. I got to tell you guys, all I knew is that I like drinking it. I really knew zilch. And I've learned a lot from you, Carl, last 5 years. But anyway, so it is our 5th year. So we really want to step up the game in terms of your experience as members, and in terms of growing the club and the community, because it's just more fun when there's more people to geek out about wine with, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy because when we're looking what's happening out there right now, like everyone is up in arm and about Canadian product and the war and this and that. And I'm like, that's what we do. That's what we do.
We want to get the word out. So we're going to be
and you're right. Growing that community, when we've seen from the first iteration of Carl's Wine Club, right? You remember like our first core of members that we met and we started to build relationship after COVID and all that. And now we're kind of having like that second wave of hardcore that we have already met. And like now it's kind of like we feel that's growing by layers, and like we just want to have more of that.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. So, oops. Yeah, no, what I'm doing right now is just to say like, okay, we're going to be asking for your referrals. We're going to be asking for your feedback in a kind of detailed survey. And it's important that you can share some of your thoughts with us or your friends to invite them to the club. And to drive home how much we appreciate it, we're doing what, Carl? We're going to give away something.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We will.
And so we're giving away something. Did you finalize any of those details earlier? Can we reveal them? Because it just happened in the last few hours. Did he reply with confirmation, the winery, or are we still unsure which wine it'll be?
Oh, so we're meeting on Friday.
Okay. So we won't announce which winery specifically, but we're going to give away a Magnum, a very, very, very rare Canadian wine that will be personalized with somebody's name on it, and the new 5-year anniversary Carl's Wine Club logo. So it's a pretty special wine. It's going to look sick. It's going to look sick on somebody's wine shelf. And so we'll give that away by a live show, either next Wine Wednesday or possibly sooner. So anybody who refers a friend, once we start our referral request, when we send you a note about that, and anybody who fills out that survey we were talking about, will get entered into that draw for a very special Magnum with your name in like gold engraving on it. Kind of ridiculously spectacular, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super exciting. It's a great project, and I'm just looking forward to grow that community. I mean, there's so much potential. I just want everyone to know how great our wines are, and so sometimes I just feel like there's not enough Canadian who appreciate what we are doing, and I know that people who are tuning up right now Uh, no.
Just true. I mean, Tracy just wins all
She
this
cleaned
kind of
up. She
stuff
cleaned up everything. I mean,
every day.
it was absolutely
Tracy decluttered. Yeah, you're gonna need the space for that big magnum, right?
absolutely, Tracy. Yeah, so that's exciting, and that's exciting to announce as well where the wine is coming from and which kind of wine it is, and that new personalized engraving. It's really really cool. So looking
Okay, well,
forward to.
I started sipping my wine, so now I have to try and remember what the other two pieces of news were. Oh yes, the other piece of news is that next week we are going to feature alumni of the wineries of the year. Not all of them, but if you guys recall, in our first year of Carl's Wine Club, we said let's do a vote on what our favorite winery we featured in the club was last year, and then let's give them kind of a members' choice award. And then, of course, members said, well, if we're doing that, we should go to that winery and throw a party. So that's what we did. So we did
So that
one.
was the beginning of the Carl's Wine Club Winery of the Year
Yes.
program, right? BC Winery of the Year, Ontario Winery of the Year, Bellaterra Black Market first year, Suan and De Silva second year, Riverstone and Batchelder the third year.
So at least one, two, maybe three of those alumni wineries will have some awesome wines for us next week. Some pre-releases, some special wines that they're going to make available just for us. And we will vote on our 2024 winery of the year. So that's coming up. So that's the second piece of news. And then my third piece of news. Okay, last one. Third piece of news. I think we wanted to say something about the Pan Canadian. Hey, Carl?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few winery who has confirmed in the last week. So yeah, I spoke with. Well, there's three that I can't. Well, four, obviously, like the host. I mean, there's four winery that I can confirm that they're making the trip and they're going to be there celebrating with us, partying with us, touring with us, and also sharing their experience and their story at the big show, at the main event on the Saturday, June 21st at Suan staff. So yeah, obviously we're going to be sitting under the tent at Suan on the Beamsville bench. Suan's going to be presenting. And I have to say that Suan this year, she said, your club knows all about my Rieslings. So now I'm moving on the red side. And Suan has picked her Chestnut Tree Cabernet Franc 2020 to present this year at the Pan Canadian.
And that's pretty cool because we're going to be like sitting right near that chestnut tree.
So, we're going to be sitting right next to that tree bulk nearby under the tent
on the way in. Yeah,
exactly. So that's one. It's going to be the 2020 vintage, which is not released yet. It's still been sitting in bottles, resting.
2020 being the vintage of the century, so I'm
excited. The vintage, especially for Cab Franc, which was the ultimate grape who beneficiate of that dry and hot vintage. So that's piece of news number one about the Pan Canadian. Suan has selected the Chestnut Tree 2020 to be featured. I haven't tasted that wine. There's no label on the bottle yet. We're going to receive very soon a bottle with a green tape on it to taste and score very soon. So there's that. I have the confirmation that we're going to host for the first time in 3 years someone from the Lake Erie, North Shore, Appalachian live at the Pan Canadian. They're coming. They're gonna make the trip to Niagara to be present and present their 2020 Syrah at the Pan Canadian. So now, who am I talking about? I'm asking Mike Laplante if he has any idea of who I'm talking about.
Because Mike is the one that introduced us to this person and this winery. So
Melissa Mouchadre will be traveling to Niagara at Siouan, presenting the 2020 Syrah from Mouchedre Vineyard. We already featured our wine in our
Yes.
advent calendar, and also in like less than a month ago during our second feature of the year here at Carl's Wine Club. So very exciting. We're going to change the format a bit. I've been talking to different winemakers about it. Everyone's very excited. Stay tuned for that. I will tell you more about a different format of the Pan Canadian. So also now from BC, I mean, these are two usual of our traveling partners, but
It is
yes.
the third year of the Pan Canadian. So we're going to switch some things up, but we are going to keep some things and some people the same. But yeah, this is
Yeah, so one of our friend, I have to call him our friend because we had the privilege to build an incredible relationship with these peoples over the year. And Rob Hammersley and Michelle are going to be traveling with us to Niagara, and Black Market Wine Company will have a wine in the lineup this year again for the third year in a row. I'm sure that our already existing members are thrilled to spend time with Rob and Michelle, and are like to keep that relationship going. So I didn't want a substitute or someone else to present instead. I really wanted Rob and Michelle to be there. So Rob has confirmed. We had a chat today. Now we're going to work on which wine I have a very good idea of which wine will be featured. We like anyway, so we're down to 3 potential wines. So I'm not gonna announce exactly which one just yet, but it's coming. Yeah, so Rob Amersley, Black Market Wine Company, one of our first two BC winery confirmed. The other one, I can't go back to Ontario without traveling with Richard De Silva and Twyla De Silva. I mean, we've been blessed enough to travel with Richard and Rob, and that little like they're bringing so much to the experience. And yes, the Silva Vineyard and Winery will be part of the Pan Canadian 3.0 at the Siouan staff on June the 21st. Again, now with Richard, I have not confirmed yet which wine will be featured. There's multiple options of what we can do with Richard, so that has to wait a few more weeks.
Yes, that's right. So Mike's got a good point. Last time they tried to come to Ontario, there was a big tragedy at their winery. The city water main broke right outside the winery and went under the winery and destroyed their parking lot and squirted water all over the guests, and it was terrible. So it caused, like there was like water coming into the winery. It caused a big problem for them, and they had to shut down the winery. So that was right before they were supposed to come visit and do winery touring for the Winery of the Year event in Ontario with us, and they couldn't. So
yeah. So that's 4 of our wineries who are officially in the lineup. So Siouan staff, Mouchedre Vineyard, the Silva Vineyard, Black Market Wine Company. So we have 4. I will probably be able to confirm 2 more next week, hopefully. And we'll go from there. It is an ongoing process, talking with different people, trying to build the best roster possible with excited people. But I'm telling you one thing, if you have your ticket already, you're up for a treat. It's going to be a heck of a weekend, a 3.5-day event. If you don't, you better get on the list, and you better get your autumn pass, because it's more than just a 1 day event. The main event will be a 4 hours type of mayhem, coast to coast tasting. But also now we tagged on a dinner under the tent, and it's going to be incredible. But also 3 other events attached to this epic weekend.
An
So there's that.
extravaganza.
Absolutely. So there
Yes,
all need a
Daryl,
Nova Scotia representation. Yes, we do. I mean, I can't I can't, because I didn't have the official confirmation from Jean-Benoit Delaurier. But last time we spoke, I mean, it's kind of a
There's a good chance.
formality.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance. So yeah, we should have a chat and confirm 100% that they're in. But Benjamin Bridge is my number one choice, and he is very interested. There's a few things we need to nail down, but there's a very good chance. So yeah.
Let's hope. But yeah, it's starting to come together. It's so exciting. And there'll be lots more announcements about that coming up real soon. But for now, please, once you get the email about the survey and to refer friends, please do that. And then we'd love to enter you in this crazy draw that we're doing. Carl Boucher, tell me what you think is in your glasses. You've got 2 in front of you. 2
Oh
reds.
my God, there's a lot of fingerprints right now. They're really fucking dirty. So let's start with the yellow line here. Okay. Yes. So
this one, the yellow line one. Woo. And the next one you're gonna do, yeah, has no yellow line. It's a trickster one.
So with the yellow line, I would try to say it might be a gamay.
Really?
A little meaty on the nose. Too light in color. It's probably like there's nothing too earthy, so I thought it might be a Pinot at the very beginning. So Pinot or Gamay, but that little meatiness that brought me to a Gamay conclusion. So
okay, well, I can tell you no on that one.
No, okay, well, it's no on that one.
But I can see where you're coming from because it is light in color. I do feel
really light in color. Like I said, meaty on the mid palate. Some spice. So I'm almost describing Syrah here.
Now you're onto something. You're onto something.
So yeah, lighter, cold climate. That's what we do across the country. But yeah, I mean, Syrah.
There is Syrah in there. I can tell you it's 2 grapes, two varietals, and Syrah is one of them.
That's where the meatiness come from, eh? Yeah. So Syrah and the spice, there's a ton of white pepper at the end. So yeah, I got tricked with the color. A very light rim too, like a really thick light rim. $25. No, with Syrah will be pretty hard to. Yeah, I'm not sure. $28.
$30, including tax.
Okay.
And then the including tax might give you a hint because only one of the 2 main wine producing provinces in Canada does.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah. Hmm, hmm.
I'll give you a hint, but it'll give it away. It's Daryl's nemesis.
Yeah, Syrah Cap Franc.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just trying to feel like so you said before attack, so that's mean it's from BC.
No. I said including tax. It's $30
Okay.
including tax.
Okay, because
From
it's like to me,
Ontario.
that's not BC profile at
No,
all.
no. It's from
Uh,
Ontario, and it's interesting. So it's a Cab Franc Syrah. It says a blend of two varietals, Cab Franc and Syrah, but each one was made by a different winemaker, both of whom we know or have tasted their wines before. And so two separate wines blended together from two different winemakers.
hmm,
It's kind of interesting. It's a collaboration wine.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So do you want to know who the winemakers were?
Well, I would love to know who the winemakers are. I mean,
It's 600 bottles produced. So what is that for cases? Whoever can divide 600 by 12 and tell us. I mean, you were a math genius. So what is that? 330? I don't know. I'm not going to try and do math after I've had a glass of wine, but
that's 50
no,
cases. That's 50 cases.
Yeah, it's not Ann and Peter. It's
Well, let's see who makes Syrah.
Yeah.
I mean, Casaba makes Syrah. So
So this winemaker is a tie-in to Ann and Peter. Okay, so Ann and Peter took over winemaking for Lely Winery, which this winemaker was the founding winemaker for, and that is Derek Barnett. And then he went after Lely was bought out by the Chinese company for a short time before
for a too long 4 years.
Before the current family bought them back and brought in Peter and Anne. So Derek Barnett then moved to Prince Edward County. And they make wines with that we featured in the club. He makes
Carlo Estate.
Yeah, Carlo Estate in Prince Edward County. So yeah, Derek Barnett is the winemaker for the Syrah. And the Cab.
Yeah, he makes a Syrah. We have a bottle of this Syrah somewhere in the third square, second level of our wine wall. Like a 2018 Syrah that we have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So the winemaker
and
for
the Cab Franc. Who makes the Cab Franc?
Mark Pistor at
Fogalar.
So
that's a Derek Barnett Mark Pistor collaboration. This is really cool.
Really cool. So he makes the Finnet X series that are kind of like off the beaten track wines. He made our top one of our top 10 wines of the year a few years ago.
2 years ago, that was a sparkling Riesling ice wine. I remember tasting that with you and Rob Hammersley one night.
Yeah.
We just moved in that house here, and when we popped that, we were like, fuck, what is that? That was sex in the bottle. It was incredible.
At the time. Yeah, true to your word, Carl Boucher.
That's what I said at the time. I remember exactly the moment when we opened it. It was absolutely incredible.
That's the X series where he collaborates or kind of does off the beaten track kind of things. So pretty cool.
I mean, that takes, like, to me, it's interesting, intriguing, fun to taste. Is it like right out of the first swirl, out of this world? No, I had to I really had to dig deep. It
was a bit of a trickster wine. Okay, now your next one is
from the nose and the color, and that there was so much going on that I had a hard time nailing it. But it's good though. It's good. 20, like I would give that 90 points. I will give that 90 points. And I'm
It's an
sure
honest price point for
it
a
sure
California.
is. It sure is actually.
Mm, mm. And I didn't mention it's 2022. So this was probably not the boldest, biggest vintage for those varietals.
No, probably not. Definitely not.
And 12.5% alcohol. So that's where you're getting that lighter sense.
Okay, so the second one, I have a little deeper color, darker purple, uh, slightly bigger concentration. I have on the nose like a chocolate mint.
So this was the one that on the first sniff you said, is this some kind of
is this an hybrid? Because I had a little bit of juniper, something like a little minty, almost eucalyptus, but not capsule eucalyptus, something different. The herbal, I think it's so yeah, it's not deep purple. Not talking about the band here, but and yeah. Okay, so there's definitely a good concentration on that because the legs are just like pretty defined. So let's see. It's definitely heavier, lower in acid, heavier. So
It's a good assessment.
I mean, there's not a lot in there in our cellar, but if I see that's one of the California wine from the cellar, I wouldn't be surprised at all. The nose does not reflect what I think it is, but the low acid and the thicker, there's a little sweeter profile in there, a little bit more bubble gum. Not bubble gum, but more licorice, like red cherry licorice. That lead me to there's a tannin definitely, like it's chewy. With
The first thing I noticed with this wine is the finish. The finish is so different than what we normally taste in a finish. It kind of dies and then it kind of comes back with this weird licorice. That's my.
So yeah, I would say it's a California wine.
Well, you were right. I told you it was a trickster wine.
Well, I mean, I taste enough Canadian wine that the first sip, I know it's not Canadian.
Well, that was funny when you said it might be a hybrid because you were like,
that was on the nose. Yeah, yeah.
That's code for this is like not typical of a wine. And definitely for us, it's not, because not only is it a California wine, but it is a mass-produced wine from California. And so this is probably the first time in my life that I felt like a wine snob, because I'm generally like the farthest thing from a wine snob. I just like
you
wine.
know what, Mira? I'll cut you off right there. And I think the weird finish that you're talking about, it's oak chips. Bunch of chips. Oak chips makes it oaky, but right away at the end, and that red licorice comes in, and the tannins stick on your teeth.
It's a very different experience.
That coconut, and I think like the nose with the coconut, like it's maybe like coconut milk that comes up a little bit later. So yeah, is it the bottle of Josh?
It is.
It is the bottle of Josh, right? And you see, when I said eucalyptus, that's yeah.
That's Capsule. It is Capsule. So it's also a 22. Okay, different varietal, but this is where I felt like a wine snob for the first time in my life, because the poor lady at the bar at the hotel where we were staying. We got chatting with her and we were like, oh, we're from Canada and we have a wine club and we like wine. And she's like, oh my God, if you like wine, you've got to taste some of our California wine. And that's the one she recommended. And so we ended up going to our room with a bottle of this because I didn't really want to be like, that doesn't look like the kind of wine that is made by like some independent small batch producer like we normally drink. But we were like, well, let's try it. And then we got back to the room and we opened up a Canadian bottle. But I brought it back.
Boy, that's what I'm just having here. I'm just washing that down with a good sip of the Mark Pister Derek Barnett blend here. I mean,
yes, I know. I was like, well, I don't want to be a wine snob here and tell this very enthusiastic sommelier that like, oh, we don't drink those kind of wines.
Well, I mean, and hey, keep in mind, we paid that fucking bottle $30 US.
I think it was more than that. I don't want to tell you how much it was, but yeah, Karen.
Nah, I mean, no, not cheap anymore. Like that, John.
No, especially with the exchange rate. It was definitely a lot more than this $30 wine.
Yeah. So I mean,
at Target, maybe. We were not at Target. We shopped at the wrong place. But if I was at Target, I don't think I would ever buy wine from Target. So anyway.
Yeah, cheerful. I will. Yeah, cheerful question mark. I mean, not so cheerful right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, to me, what was obvious right out of the gate on the palate, there was the lack of acidity. And keep in mind, I didn't have a clue what did you put in my glass. And first, I thought that was on the nose. I would have said Marquette from Nova Scotia. On the nose. Like, there was that mint, there was that eucalyptus, that herbal. I mean, there's not a ton of I mean, what you expect from a Cab Sauv. Like now, I got some coconut, but Cab Sauv, I'm expecting graphite, pencil shaving, black fruit, like black currant, blackberry, and the eucalyptus, maybe a little bit of mint chocolate. This on the back end, a little bit of spice. There's not a whole lot of that. And when you get to I get to the palate, and that's boom, that ton of brick just hit me, and I'm like, oh.
There's no like there is a finish, but like I said, there's a gap in it. So to me, like the finish just stops, and then you get all this sort of licorice-y taste. So like you said, that might be stuff we're not used to. Okay, stuff we're not used to when we taste like thousands of Canadian wines every year. We're not
lack of acidity. We're not used to that.
No.
Okay, and yeah, oak chip. I mean, it's something that we don't.
So. Okay, I didn't see your lull at the end, Stacy Jeff, until so I was like, oh, really? That's unique because you guys have phenomenal taste in Canadian wine, but yeah, I see the lull now. So yeah, and that's the thing, Daryl. It's not cheap anymore. It is not cheap anymore. Okay, okay, cover your ears, Carl. I'll tell you how much we paid for this bottle. Okay. Cover your ears. You're gonna faint.
Nah, I mean, I think it's $40 US. That's 45.
It was like $55 US.
Yeah, but okay, let's put it that way. We bought it at the hotel, so we bought it like
so there was maybe a $15 US premium, but even then.
So, and yeah, like Washington, we had swear to God, no, not swear to God, we had the Blasted Church, Nothing Sacred, with us. That and made our night that night, like sitting in San Francisco at the Hyatt in San Francisco with the kids playing on their iPad. I mean, we had a tremendous glass of Blasted Church, Nothing Sacred 2019
and we
vintage.
Brought it to the lovely lady, the lovely sommelier who.
Nah, fuck off. No, she was not a sommelier. She was the clerk.
Okay, anyway. we brought it to her and she was lovely, but she was like, I've never tasted a wine like this before. There's so much acid. So it's just interesting, right? They're very different. But yeah, that's the first
Yeah.
time in my life that I ever felt like a wine snob. I did not
So
act
if
it out.
she was a sommelier, I'm the prime minister. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yeah. So yeah,
Ooh, Mike
she
had
was.
nothing sacred last night. Awesome.
Yeah, great bottle of wine. So it was fun to have it down in the States. And we had the other one we had with us was the Stratus Chardonnay 2021 vintage on Fine Unfiltered. And we had that side by side with an incredible Chardonnay with Mendocino County. So my point to that is, and Daryl, I mean, I don't want people to say I'm shitting on California wines, because there's outstanding California wines out there. Outstanding. I mean, that Mendocino Ridge Chardonnay from Daniel, if you ever
With
can
like,
put
what was it?
your hand
Something
on
like
one.
40 cases produced, right?
Yeah, I know. 94 points, James Suckling. And I mean, this one is outstanding, absolutely magical. And I mean, I always been a big fan of Carter Cellar. I mean, there's so many great Thomas George from Russian River Valley in Sonoma makes some incredible Pinots and incredible Chardonnays. I mean, there's a list, like a long list of outstanding California wine, but these wines are much more expensive than what we have here. I mean, there's no Carter Cellar Canadian wines at that price point. Like Hillside Select, yes, absolutely. They're all like, it's not even like in some mediocre vintage. Hillside Select from Schaefer will produce some world-class wine, even in mediocre vintage. But yeah, now Schaefer Hillside Select, it's near $300 a bottle. So, I mean, I can put a Stratus Red Blend, same vintage, that might not be rated as high as the Schaefer Hillside Select, but it's going to be at least a quarter of the price. So,
Yep. You got to compare apples to apples.
absolutely. So yeah, here's my take here.
Okay, we'll finish on this. We'll let you guys go. But like, you gave me a list here, if I can find it, of like, because people keep asking in these groups. I like my, my Oaky California Chardonnay. What should I buy as a Canadian alternative? You gave me a nice list, Carl. You gave me a list, like, if you like this, you might like that.
Yeah. That was an idea for a for a post or for a reel or something. Like, you like Rumbauer? Well, we have Bellaterra barrel ferment. You like you like Belgloss
here because I feel like you said something about Josh Sellers. You were like, you like Josh Sellers Cab Sauv? You might like, but I don't remember what.
Yeah, I can't remember what was my comp with that one.
I never published that yet because I want to give it some thought, because some of these wines, to people that know wine, they'll be like, how dare you compare Thomas Batchelder with this California wine? Like,
but that was my idea with Belgloss, right? I mean,
you need something juicy. Yeah, I think what we got to point people to is regions, right? Like, oh, you like your really big reds? Well, you probably want to go to Osoyoos wine or Lake Erie North Shore wine, right? So we got to point people in those directions. But yeah, I think it's a good trend in that sense that we're supporting our Canadian winemakers more and more. I think I like that.
Yeah, there's that, and also that they're like real nice. It's not just like supporting blind, right? We're supporting because the product is freaking fantastic. I mean, that's why I'm all into that. That's why I'm all in. It's because what's in the glass, it's freaking worth it. That's why I'm all in. And that's why I come back every week to tell the same message in a different way, right?
I like
because
it,
what's
Mike.
in the glass is freaking fantastic.
Do you see what Mike's asking? When's the next members wine being bottled? So we've had one members wine so far. It was the members red. It was what, in our second year? Now we're having our 5-year anniversary. Like, I feel like that's something.
Marcel Morgenstern, where are you? Marcel,
Yes,
I'm talking to
you
you
know
now.
what I said to Carl? I said, I bet you Thomas Batchelder has a barrel or two that he wouldn't mind labeling as our Carl's Wine Club Chardonnay. So,
yeah.
if you guys have ideas, if you get ideas, tell us. Yeah, because we did a members red, and Carl's leaning post cuvee. I mean, it's our 5-year anniversary, so I do feel like we either need to do some Carl's Wine Club wines or some Carl's Wine Club magnums or like something interesting, right? Let's think about that.
I think the Pan Canadian can be a good time for a launch.
I think so, because then a lot of members could try that wine. There you go. That could be interesting. Yeah, here was the original ones we had put out for you guys. And Mike, you put on your graphic designer hat and you even like improved on these. So we will finalize that very soon and get it out to you guys. But very exciting to be celebrating 5 years. And I think the Pan Canadian would be an excellent time for launch.
There you go. So
let everyone taste it.
Let me get to work.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
And now next week we're gonna have some former Winery of the Year selection. So yeah, see what we can pull off.
Yeah, before we choose our next Winery of the Year. So there you go. Lots of exciting things. I mean, I think if we're gonna do a 5-year anniversary Carl's Wine Club wine, that's great. And the only next level we can go after that is to actually like pick our own grapes for a wine. That'd be pretty wild. Maybe that's our 10-year anniversary wine goal.
There you go. There you go. We'll see where yeah. That'll be fun.
Canadian wine lovers, we got to start talking more in French, Carl. I feel like we keep forgetting to talk in French. There we go. We'll do a French show. Bonne nuit, bonne soirée.
A whole show, I'm not sure. But je voulais dire un beau bonsoir à tous nos amateurs de vin francophones en français, de la belle province de Québec, partout à travers le pays, tous ceux-là qui supportent nos beaux vins canadiens, que ce soit de Niagara, que ce soit de la Colombie-Britannique, que ce soit de la Nouvelle-Écosse. Partout au pays, on vous remercie de votre support. C'est tout le temps le fun de parler en français avec tous vous autres. Donc, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members.
Thank you guys.
See you next time.